This is a little introduction. I did a live stream through Zoom on Patreon. If you're interested in exploring my Patreon community, I'll put a link in the description. But I do want to share this experience with all of you here on YouTube. It was a really profound message, exploring the whole concept of the soul journey and ascension. You have to bear with it a little bit. There are sections to the message really introducing us to what is kind of a collective experience right now, and then going through a doorway into an experience of my own soul, which we can probably all relate to on some level, right? Only to journey into yet another experience, which ties this whole message together in a profound way that it's almost like it all makes sense now. You know what I mean? So I don't know if this is just like a March thing or if this is, truly the bigger picture of the whole meaning of life. It's kind of the concept of, is it the destination that we're trying to reach? Yes, right? That place I want to get to in my life, But really, it's the process of getting to the destination. How many of us have these like extraordinary ideas, but then we're kind of like working our way to it when we can't just jump to it? Sometimes we have to work our way through, and that can be an emotional process. It can be learning lessons with confidence and speaking up or slowing down or being a better listener as we reach that destination. And what truly is the destination? It's the evolution of our collective. It's the raising of our vibration, of our soul energy, our soul signatures. And it's like no soul left behind. The whole concept that we are all coming back to the source energies. That means all the souls that are in purgatory and all the lost parts of ourselves are returning to us. And we're starting to develop our identities. We're starting to become whole through these self-discovering experiences that are part of the process of getting to the destination, which is truly discovering who we are. So I just wanted to share all of this with you. This is the part where we're going to lead into the live stream experience. Thank you all so much for being a part of YouTube, part of Patreon, for those of you who are part of Patreon. Thank you all so much for just being, in my world. I wish you all well, and I hope you enjoy this journey that I did. Okay. It's sort of like bringing my energy field into a type of balance or rhythm. And as I'm doing this, I'm seeing myself kind of like on a silly slide in a way. It's a bumpy slide, but the slide is constantly moving. So it's not always easy to maintain balance. And it's like trying to climb the slide instead of going down, trying to climb it. But the slide again, it's moving. And it's like a bit bouncy as well, like a bouncy slide. It's yellow in color. And I see that I've decided to stop trying. That's what the energy is. And what I do is I allow myself to feel more in tune with the way things are moving. So I can be kind of adjusted to that flow. They're showing me images of like somebody like me who gets oh, my camera got all blurry there for a minute. Somebody like me who gets seasick. Um, you can imagine I'm not adjusted to the rhythm of the ocean's movements. It makes my stomach not feel very good. So in this scene, it's like I experience time passing and a decision to not climb up and not slide down, but just to allow the slide to move however it wants to. And then just to allow myself to adjust to the fact that it's in motion. And it is hard. It is hard to climb the slide. It feels like my direction is up, like the slide represents kind of like a mountain, but there's something fun about it because it is a slide over a mountain. It doesn't have that practical, grounded, earthy energy. Like there's kind of like a strong divine masculine even to the energy of a mountain. But the slide is more childlike. It's more got the inner child energy. Like I'm out at recess trying to climb the bumpy slide while other people want to go down, but I want to climb up, So doing things backwards, and everything feels right about this. So I see myself just not going anywhere, just standing here. It's not making my stomach ill. It's giving me a chance to understand that life, it's not always going to be still. It's not always going to be something that's easy to climb up or to conquer. Sometimes life is going to be unpredictably hard. It's almost going to force you to want to just wait and not make a move right now. Just wait. And sometimes when your ambition or your flow inside yourself is saying, but I want to make a move, but the energy is saying, just wait. Now you have a new conflict because your inner selves were saying, well, I was ready to move forward, but the universal energies are saying, I'm not ready for you to move forward yet. I need you to wait. So now there's this, again, conflict with sort of the energies of the universe, the flow of the universe, and the internal, like, ideas, the ego, the emotions, where we're at in our own personal growth and development. We feel ready, we feel confident. Now the universe is almost creating like an inspiration that makes it hard to move forward. It even feels like that in itself is kind of what's moving this slide. This is interesting. The next scene is, and again, this is me tapping into the intention, wanting to explore our collective consciousness, wanting to explore messages related to human ascension. So while I experience it as myself, I'm also a representative of what is a wise message for all of us to explore right now. So in this scene, I feel really angry, like, I'm done. I'm not going to keep moving up the slide. I've stood still. I've allowed myself to kind of adjust to the movement. The movement isn't changing. And I feel like I've in myself have changed my mind. I've decided to change my direction. And that makes me angry because all along, all I wanted was just to climb the slide. But for some reason, the universe doesn't want this for me, apparently. So I feel this like aggressive frustration about this, what I want and what I feel like the universe doesn't want for me. And so I don't know if it's like a crybaby attitude or if it's also the divine spark, because the correct path was never to go all the way up the slide. It was to work through the lessons in that process and then to move in a new direction. That's literally all it was. So now I'm going down the slide and I feel I'm at the bottom of the slide and I'm pissed because again, it's like conflicting with what the internal self decided that I want right now today. And I don't, and I'm in emotion. I've got ideas. I've been building upon these ideas. I've set this ball in motion, but the universe, somehow the energies have shifted. I'm not allowed to continue with that forward motion. And now I have to go down the slide. Are you serious? Now I feel like I'm starting all over again. But it's like the universe is saying, but you don't understand. There's no starting over again. There's no, sometimes we get it, a plan, an arrangement, and we start to follow through. It feels right for every part of our being. It feels right. We feel whole with it. We feel ready to move forward with it. But then somehow the patterns of the energy change. And now we have to question that. We have to question the direction. We have to be at a standstill for a time. We have to wait until things feel right again, only to decide maybe I need to go a different route. And that's frustrating because it's like plans are set in stone, but they aren't. But when you feel solid with it and ready to move forward with it, but it's like things are in the way, preventing you from moving forward with it, it's really a disappointment. And now you have to accept that. You have to find a way to cope with that. You just find your way back down the slide and it feels like square one again, but it isn't. You had to go through the experience of the learning and the deciding and the feeling confident in order to shift gears, because there was a growth and development involved in that. And you're taking that growth and development with you. Now that you're back at the bottom of the slide, you've grown so much, you've gained so much perspective, and now you have more to work with in order to explore yet another, what feels like another direction, but it was part of the path all along. It was part of the path all along. This is really interesting because there's a lot of energetic release going on here. And again, it kind of parallels with what I'm seeing in sessions, or what I've seen even with the zodiac energy readings. Um, there's kind of like, even with that Lucifer and purgatory, it's like there's a pent up energy and it's got to come out. And perhaps as it's coming out, it might feel a bit derailing. It might derail our sense of self. It might derail our sense of direction, our path. But all of this is releasing pent up energy. It's bringing balance to the inner selves. It's helping you to align with more of your true identity. It's actually setting you free. All along, all of this has been setting all of us free. All these energy shifts and everything, that's what human ascension is all about, is the human beings evolving, which is technically setting ourselves free from ourselves. Because what in the world is actually holding the human race back but our own ego? When we find balance in our heart, when we find that freedom of sense of self, freedom of self-expression, freedom to love wholly ourself even and others. I mean, there's just such a dynamic, like you could go into that conversation, really see what's there. There's just so many virtues. But virtues are also lessons in themselves too. But this is all growth and development. This is big deal stuff. I mean, we're a race of beings, going through this whole thing together. And it's a bumpy road. It's a bumpy slide. It's going up the slide backwards at times, being sure this is the path, only to be forced down the slide again and be frustrated with that, only to find that you gained so much and this new path was actually a much better choice. But having to cope with the process of getting to that point. So I'm going to pause for a minute here. Because I want to go back out into the universe and I want to see what new information we can come across. All right. So I'm sort of saying to the universe, okay, I really understand the message a lot. And I'm really grateful for the perspective. I feel like there's a lot of venting and healing, catching up with oneself, understanding the whole point of life. Sometimes it's not about, it's like that classic line, like, it's not about the destination, right? It's not about getting to the, I swear to God, I will articulate this. It's not about the destination. It's about the process of getting there. That's what life is all about. It's not about the point that you want to be at. It's about the process of getting to that point. The very long and drawn out and confusing. I just want to get to the point. Come on. All right. So I'm saying, okay, what else would you like to share with all of us related to collective energies, ascension, human ascension, energy work, even support for our chakra balance, our energetic flow? Okay, there's a pause here. There's our ideas coming. I see. All right, they're wanting me to do something unpredictable. Okay, so I'm creating a door. Like, I tell people to do this and just see what happens. It's so worth it, okay? So I'm creating a door. My door just happens to be black for some reason. It looks like a wooden door that's black, and it has a wooden frame around it that's also black. So the very basic round handle. So I'm just like turning the knob and I'm opening the door, and let's see what's on the other side. Oh, they say, let's see who is on the other side. And now they're being silly, like, let's play a guessing game. Let's see if you can tell who's on the other side, Abby. It's like, oh boy, okay. I'm not really good with names. I'll probably say that person and define him as like, I don't know, like Star Guy or Blue Man Group or something. Like I've defined other beings in the past. Okay. Opening the door. It's not a person per se, and I can't define a who right now. Let's just describe. We'll start there. It's a closet that's turned inside out. So I don't know how to describe that. It's almost like I was in a closet. So through opening this door, I'm entering. I'm actually exiting the closet, but I appear to be entering into a room that is also a closet, and it's full of books, like a million books, and they're not on any shelves. They're just strewn about like in giant piles of books everywhere, and it feels like a closet. It also feels like I was in a closet though too. Feels like a mirror again. There's no such thing as coincidence. And it kind of makes me think of, I find it so peculiar about time and how, for instance, I'm doing this blast from the past Tuesday, and like the way that these videos from the past that I've never shared are somehow integrating into the present. There's a weird divine time for everything. It's almost like I made them in the past for a future time. But I never could have conceived of that, you know? So being human, we try to make sense of this, and none of it will ever really make sense. However, everything always, it makes sense. Even if our minds can't understand it, okay? So it reminds me of the mirror, the dimension video that I shared on Tuesday, but there's another mirror dimension video that I'm sharing next Tuesday. And sometimes I get so many videos and client sessions, and then life happens and I can't always prepare and share everything because it's almost like these books kind of make me think of myself and how things pile up to the point that I can't, there's just so much information. Like I don't even know where to put it. But I got to organize it. I got to get it out there somehow. So is it me on the other side of the door? Is it always like ourself that we're walking into, again and again and again? So I'm gonna start by picking up these books. There's a red one, there's a green one. They're really old, kind of looking thick books that have the hardcover binding. They're pretty plain looking. It's like a green colored hardcover binding is a red color, So I'm just picking these books, and then I guess I'm putting them on shelves for starters. They're reminding me of I have a weird relationship with wanting to color coordinate my clothes. So when I put them in the closet, I've color coordinated t-shirts and then color coordinated long sleeve shirts. So I like to color coordinate things. But when life gets like so busy and I can't color coordinate, I have to accept that I just need to get this stuff on hangers and put it in my closet so it's not like in a pile like these books. Okay. So right now I'm just getting the books off of the floor and I'm putting them on the shelves, even if they're not in a color coordinated like lineup. Okay. Like the red books need to be with the reds and the greens need to be, that's for some reason something that I need. I don't know. That's like one of my weird quirks. So I have like red, green, yellow, orange. And orange isn't a very pretty color. Orange is like a brownish orange. And I'm really like, it's not about the book. It's about the brownish orange cover that's really bothering me. I'm like, okay, red, green, yellow, that's cool. But ew, this looks dirty. This brownish orange just makes the pretty red, green, and yellow look dirty in a way because it's like it's dirty book cover even though it's just the color of it. So I'm getting like it's not about what's in the book, it's about the color that was chosen for the book cover that I just disagree with. It's very kind of shallow, I know, but and I feel there's a message here that's important about this kind of makes me think of my own life right now and how I feel in a way, like, I just have to go with what comes. Like, I may be just making random decisions, and I'm just having to kind of like put things in a place for now, until I can get to a point where I can really organize it. But I'm gonna have to be okay with things being a bit messy. So I guess I don't know if I'm an example here for all of us. Maybe we are all kind of cleaning up our messes in our own life in different ways. And it may seem to be a bit disorganized, or maybe a bit rushed, or maybe a bit thrown together in order to accomplish, just get the freaking clothes on the hangers in the closet. If they're not color coordinated, whatever, I can deal with it. So it's kind of like this type of feeling right now. Okay. So I say, you know what, orangish brown book, I guess I'm saying I'm okay with you, but then I have to move it closer to the red for some reason, but then I don't like that the brownish orange is next to the red and the green is right there. I don't know where to put this. And now like all of my efforts are at a standstill over something so stupid and insignificant as the color of this binding. Like it's just so dumb that I am hung up over this, and everything is at a standstill because of this dumb like issue I'm having. Do you know what's going on right now? Abby, the human Abby, and telling the Abby in the scene, get over yourself, just put the freaking books on the freaking bookshelves. But the Abby in the scene has her own mind made up, and I have to accept it. I have to just work with whatever her inspiration is. And I feel like I'm having to wait on somebody that's annoying me. So, okay, she is sitting on the ground and she's like really looking at this book, and she doesn't care about any other books. She doesn't care about picking up the books. She just needs to look at this one book for a while. And she's very sensitive and emotional about this one book. And the thing is as much as she wants to open it, she can't do it. And she even puts her glasses on, her reading glasses, like this. That way she can read it. So she can't open the book on her life. Like it's too overwhelming. It's too nerve-wracking. She can't even breathe at the idea of opening it and looking at what's inside of the book. And she starts to really feel a lot of like spite inside. Like I ask her, why in the world aren't these other books important to you? Why is the one and only book? And all it was is the cover of the book. Like, what really is inside? Clearly, you know more about this book. It's more than just a color of the book. And maybe the color of the book represents something that's on the inside of the book that is hard for you to work through. And I see her suddenly become like 100 different like lines, basically almost like piano keys, but smush them together some more, and there's different separations between some of them, and there's like lots of dark thicker lines, and then thinner dark lines, but white in between dark thicker lines and thinner lines, and some of the white lines are really thin and some are thicker, so it's like this smash of different white and black lines. Hmm. So I guess I'm kind of like the voice of reason in some way. That's kind of how I feel in the scene. And I realized that this closet is enormous. Like it is a huge, 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 huge place. It's beautiful too. Like there's really huge windows and beautiful light shining in, but there's a lot of dust. I can see the dust in the light that shines in. It's the shelves are not really put in place, so it's kind of like, I mean, there's just books everywhere, and then shelves kind of it's almost like things need to be moved into places somehow. like the shelves do, and then the books need to be put onto the shelves and maybe cataloged or something. So I snap my fingers and I start making this happen. All the while, this other me is like turned into a bunch of lines, but is also like holding this book and is like not functional at all. I don't know what to say because even for me, I keep going to her and continue to work through this, but it's not meant to be right now. It's like it's meant for this part of myself to just be whatever this is right now, because I can't really get through to her unless she wants to be gotten through to, you know? So I just know that this feels right. This feels like higher guidance, you know? But what's interesting is there's all these spirit beings here that are kind of hidden in the energy. And I try to pick up all these books to put them onto the shelves because I put the shelves like this is a vast place. It would be one amazing freaking library. It would be like one of the coolest libraries you could ever walk into. And I start putting the shelves like I mean they're basically everywhere they need to go, and there's really beautiful like you know, like the bookshelves on the wall, and then you have a fun little ladder, and like it's got rollers on it. And then you can have like a cool little like spiral staircase that goes up to like a second floor. And it's just like super extraordinary. It's like Belle's like bliss library, you know, because Belle really likes to read books. So I'm trying to put the books on the many shelves that I've put into place here. And I see there's like so many spirit beings, and some of them are here to help, and some of them are here to create disruption. And I ignore the ones creating disruption, and I say, you know what? I know Abby likes color coordinated, so I'm just going to start with yellow books. And I'm just going to do all yellow books in this shelf and just see what happens. But as I put the books on the shelf, there's these like pesky spirits that take the books off the shelf and just hide them in places. And they laugh him in secret behind the scenes. And I feel like all this hard work is just disappearing into having gotten nothing done. And it's the spirits that want to help that don't seem to be able to help for some reason. I'm wondering why. Hmm. You know, I'm starting to wonder if part of the message here is about being practical, logical, like doing things in an order, doing things in a rhythm or within it, like what would make sense, right? Part of the message feels like do what doesn't make sense. Do everything that does not make sense. In order for us to find out the surprise in the long run, that was always intended to be. It's like everything needs to be turned, twisted upside down, turned inside out, and flat, like a solid color needs to be turned into polka dots. Like it just needs to be randomized. That's interesting because I found that as part of the message for me for March, maybe you guys can relate to this in your own life. That like how we are wanting to put things into order, um, because it helps us to be in control or to make sense of the flow and to be in the rhythm of the flow. Um, like we might just have to just be random with it. We might just have to be whatever we can be in the moment with it. And don't try to make it logical. Don't try to make it make sense. I keep thinking of a chessboard, and you have the specific pieces, like the pawns have to go where the pawns go, you know, the king, the queen, they have to go on their specific squares. Every roll on the chessboard has its place on the board, and it needs to be in its place. Like it has to be perfectly in its place on both sides, the dark, you know, and the white, the black and the white. And because you can't really play the game on if we start messing up the order of things, right? But they're kind of saying to mess up the order is the only way to create actual order. So chaos then creates order. All right, let's just see what happens here, okay? Shall we? Okay, I'm gonna do something I can't cope with. And I'm gonna make this so color like I'm gonna change all the colors to be really annoying to my senses, okay? And I'm gonna make all these book covers really freaking weird and annoying for some reason, like brownish orange. Like it just, I mean, there's a purpose for it. It's like a fall color, but it doesn't go next to the bright red and green and yellow that makes us feel like spring. That's just some weird thing in my nature, okay? Um and I'm trying to accomplish this. I think of dry dirt. I find that annoying. I think of gross bugs that live under like rotted wood. That kind of gross me out, but I don't want to be grossed out by them. So I'm gonna make a color that represents that feeling, okay? And I'm gonna make a color that represents like really dry soil that you can't grow anything in. Um, I'm going to create a feeling of like I love the pool, but I can't stand chlorine. And I experienced a pool with a salt filtration system. So I know the difference between chlorinated water and something completely new, which is amazing, which is a salt filtration. So I'm going to create a chlorinated water book cover. Like, I don't know what color that would be in an infinite spectrum, but it's going to remind me of chlorine. Chlorine in my eyes, my hair with chlorine, and I can't wash it out for several days. Like I'm gonna really like dry skin in the wintertime, and it's just I'm gonna come up with book covers that remind me of all these things that just I don't enjoy about life. Okay. My freaking McDonald's hamburger that has cheese on it, and I said no cheese. Like I don't know why I cannot stand cheese on my hamburger from McDonald's. I feel like it's the grossest cheese on the planet. I don't know why. All right, it's just my weird things, okay? My weird things. So I'm just doing this book covers related to all the things that are just like little nitpicky things that really aren't that big of a deal, but they're just part of our reality. I'm changing all the book covers to remind me of these things. This is changing the energy flow because the good spirits and the bad spirits are paused. And I'm starting to feel about these difficult things in my heart. And I mean, it's pathetic. I mean, this stuff is really, is it going to break the bank? Is it really that bad? No, it's not. However, for some reason, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm feeling like the disappointment. I'm feeling the gross or the irritation or the whatever, the friction. And as I grab a book and another book, they just kind of disappear. And I don't understand why they're disappearing. I thought I just needed to change things up, randomize it, turn it inside out, make it not what I wanted, but something that I don't want. And to be okay with what I don't want. And then just doesn't even matter the color, like it should be whatever it wants. But I'll just use these energies to really friction it up, to really make it difficult. I mean, is that what the universe is saying? Like, let's just let it be difficult. Well, fine. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to say, bring it, make it difficult. I'm cool with it. I can work with it. I can eat cheeseburgers from McDonald's. I don't like it, but I'll do it. I can do this. I'm a big girl. The books are disappearing. And I'm saying, what in the world are you trying to teach me? And what in the world are you trying to teach everybody else through this message? Because in my mind, I try to come up with the next idea in order to achieve what my idea of the goal is. Originally walking through the door to find out who, right? Only to discover myself. Wow, surprise, I swear to God, like they can't really surprise me anymore. It's like, wow, I find myself in everything. Really? I didn't know that. But all these books here. So this is something I can't figure out. Because again, perhaps I'm still thinking of this through like I would think of a chess game. Like even conceiving of, okay, well, I'll make all the book covers something I don't like, and be okay with that, and just get the books on the shelves. But I am changing up the energetic flow, but now all the books are disappearing. So what am I supposed to do now? I just sit down and say, I'm going to do nothing. I'm just going to do nothing. And I just sit next to this me with this brownish orangish book. And I still can't get through to her because she just isn't, she's not changing. So I'm just going to sit with her for a while. And I'm not going to try and do anything. And a part of this practical me that is trying to accomplish something feels confused as to what the point of life is when you aren't creating. And like, so the point of life then is to cry and not open the book that you're afraid to open, not is just to break yourself off from some kind of rhythm. Like so this me is in conflict with this other me. This other me is like, I will not do anything different than this for potentially eternity. And then this other me is like, but here, I'm going to help you. I'm going to put the books and we'll figure this out and blah, blah, blah. And this me with practical me is like, this isn't working. This isn't working. This isn't working. But how come it's nothing is working? It must be you. You need to work on yourself. You're slowing us down. I'm going to hold on to this ugly book and I'm not going to open it. That's what it's like right now. And I just sort of asked the universe, like, is this like life in a nutshell or what? No, there literally is something we're going to discover here as some kind of like a profound meaning to this message, okay? This isn't for nothing. There is meaning to all of this. All right, so I'm going to merge with this me with the book, okay? So I'm going to be her right now. And I'm in the dark closet because I can't see the big beautiful windows and the light, and I can't see all the bookshelves, and I can't see all the books, and I can't see how everything was set up. In fact, I feel like I've moved backwards. I've even moved back in time. In a weird sentimental way, I kind of say, if this ugly book is all I can have, and it's the most precious book that I own, since it is the only book I own. So one book I can't open is the only book that I own, which makes it the most precious book that I own. And I start to turn this weird, like brownish orange color in the dark, holding this book. And the energy keeps pushing me back and back and back and back, 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 back. And then I fall like down this, I guess it's like a waterfall of some kind. I just go down in this waterfall and everything is going in reverse. And I'm going back, 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 back. Like there's even a stream of black water that's like pushing me back, like it's this river flowing backward. And I'm getting pushed back further and 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 further away from what was something like quite like a gift. It was beautiful. It was kind of exciting, all the books and everything. But because I can't let go or I can't work through this, I don't know, like I guess this is the way forward, is to go backward. So I'm just going to keep being this me. And in a way, I find this is kind of self-loathing, pity. I find it to be almost like playing this poor pitiful me type. There's that type of vibe to it. Almost like I'm gonna just let this river take me back a bajillion years and I'm never gonna stop. In a way, it's like punishing I don't know, the universe, it's like punishing myself, but it's punishing everybody. By punishing myself, I punish everybody. And I don't want to stop the behavior for some reason. I just want to keep holding on to it and feeling like sorry for myself. That's kind of what it's like. And I mean, I'm standing at outside the timeline. And I'm looking at God. I'm looking at my guys like, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know what to do because I can't force that part of me to stop the behavior. Even when I'm this part of me and I try to shift the energy, it just won't shift. So I guess I just let that be. I mean, I can't be everything. I mean, I guess I might as maybe being everything is also being this too. If I'm meant to be everything, maybe I'm also meant to be backward, or maybe meant to be holding on to something I don't want to let go of. This is allowing me to be truly whole. Hmm, interesting idea. What if the what we would define as the problems that we like we're working on ourselves and that things that we're not very good at is actually the one thing that makes us whole. And because we represent that one thing's existence in the universe, where we trying to bring this into balance like the chessboard, and it's bringing things out of balance, because it exists, because this is part of the infinite universe that actually helps the infinite universe be whole because of the simple existence of itself. However, as an energy healer, it doesn't feel very balanced. It feels like a broken energy. It feels like when something breaks inside ourselves, the pain can be so great that we can't ever heal it. Like we can't forgive those people, or we can't forgive ourselves, and we can't cope with the experience. We shatter and break from it. So you could say, well, that makes you more whole because you are representative of that part of the infinite creation, to be that representative, to be that energy. However, as a healer, it feels like pain. It feels like a lot of pain. So a healer naturally is magnetically attracted to wanting to bring balance to pain. So this practical me and everything in order is I mean, I have to accept that this pain doesn't want to be brought into balance. Therefore, I can't force it. It will just have to exist for all eternity until it decides to shift. And that's literally how time is. Time is forever. And then even after you've shifted out of it, that memory will still be accessible for all eternity, you know. And so you have these layers of infinite time and infinite development, and you can go to any version of yourself on the timeline, but you're kind of like in your own right a pyramid of discovery, like all the way up to this profound infinite master being, you know. So I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna accept everything that I've seen thus far, and then I'm just gonna wait and see what comes next. I'm just sort of like I did in the beginning. Okay, I like this message with the bumpy slide and all that. I relate to this. Okay, I'm gonna say that's a good message, and then show me the next thing. Okay, this door. All right. I feel like I've gotten as far as I can go with that, so I'm just gonna accept that and then put that over there, and then I'm gonna open up for what do you guys want? Like, what do you want to say next? Like, what new messages? What new perspective, information, healing? Okay. Okay. This okay. It's kind of like about a story. And all right, there's a movie. I believe it's called like The Ninth Gate, with Johnny Depp, and it doesn't really have an ending, although it does have an ending. Okay, because the ending is really just the doorway into your imagination to envision what happens next. So what if, like, what is truly an end? To any soul journey, to anybody's life journey. Um, when does it end? Like, when does it, like, what is the end of any story? I said, I told them before I even explained what this was about, I told them that I feel like when you find peace with it inside yourself, even if you don't find the answers, or you don't, it doesn't achieve the end results you were hoping for. Like, this story, I walk through the door and there's the library, and I have to work through these personas of myself. What was really accomplished in that story? Like, literally, was that a successful story? Did that story have a happy ending? What is the ending of the story teaching us about a soul journey? That is the ending of the story teaching us, and is that an end? And for me, my response was, I know in time everything always will make sense. So I have to decide what I want to hold on to and what I want to move on from. And I don't feel like I want to explore this any further. I've tried everything I can. You guys probably don't know all the things I was trying to do to get that me to open up, to open the book. Um, and so I just kind of say, um, I feel like I feel fine with what I've achieved or what I've experienced. I'm not holding on to anything. So show me the next thing. So I guess when I feel complete inside myself, with everything that I discovered, everything that I was looking for, everything that I tried to do, and what I could or could not do, even if it didn't make any sense, even if what did I really accomplish here? Like, really, what was the point of all of that? It's like life, right? We're trying to go up the bumpy slide. I have a plan. No, you don't. Now you're at the bottom of the slide. There you go. What are you going to do now? Um, I don't know. I guess I have to let go of where I thought I was going, or what I thought I was supposed to be doing, or what it all meant to me. Just let it go and start fresh. So I guess that's the end of that story. Last week, or the week before, or the last several years of my life that have amounted to now this moment here, like, however you want to define it. And now I'm ready to do the next thing. So that's kind of how spoke to the universe about that question. Hmm. Um, hmm. There's a more deeper meaning here, okay? And I don't know how to translate that in English. Basically, they showed me what is kind of like a tar, that's on a flat piece of paper, but it's not a paper, it's more like cardboard. It was thicker than that. And it had lines in it. And um that's what they echoed to me. And then they showed me, everything we were talking about. What if like there's more to it than even when you decided there's nothing else to it? What if there's still more to it, and you're ready to move on from it, but yet it doesn't go away, like it just lingers, because there's yet more. But the human won't understand that. My response was, well, how am I supposed to be somebody that I can't conceive of being? Like, I don't know how to be somebody that I'm not, I guess, because I don't know how to conceive of becoming somebody different, other than what I am. And I've kind of decided that there's things that I really like about myself, things that I um would like to improve on. But if I never improve on any of those things, and this is as good as I get, then um I think that I like who I am. um I've said this to the universe before, and what they're echoing back to me is that some things in this life are going to take us outside of the box of our own, um, how we conceive of our very own identities. I'm going to tell you a story. My daughter, okay, I'm going to try my best to remember the details. Okay, so there's this assignment, and it's about like when people came to the United States and this all started, there were relationships with the colonies and the Native Americans. And I think she said it was about Jamestown, and that the people that had come there were well-to-do. They didn't work. They were some of the first colonists. But there were issues because once they got there, they didn't know how to farm really. There was just like a 6-year drought or something. There weren't any women that came with, so there was nobody to like make clothes or cook food. I was like, what are these people like? Nobody was really thinking here, were they? And apparently, there was like this shipment of food and supplies, but like whoever was on running the ship, all they did was show up and take everything that was there at with the Jamestown like colonists, kill a bunch of Native Americans, and then go back to England. And so the Native Americans go to war with these like rich to-dos that don't know how to do anything, who are now starving to death and having to eat the dead in order to stay alive. And I was like, wait a second. This is like too profound for my brain. It's like going to like, wow, what a weird life story, And the only reason they know about this was because they found like a diary. But this is all like based on, as best I can remember, having to write a paper about this. And so imagine being one of these well-to-do types, and your concept of your own identity was kind of a constant, right? It was like it's always going to stay this way. Then you decide to do something outside the box because you're ready to find gold, because apparently there was supposed to be gold there. Turned out there was no gold there. Like, is this a funny joke? Is this like a jacked up joke, rich well-to-dos go to this location in a whole new world to find gold. There's no gold there. Now they're starving to death, and like all this jacked up stuff happens. My God, my God, life story from hell. So anyway, like I guess the reason why this is coming up in my mind is that there's this like, again, imagine being like a well-to-do type, and you have this like vision of the way things are going to be. So you have this like linear path of like, it's always going to be this way. Then you follow through with the idea, and you have to discover yourself. You have to survive. You have to learn how to do things that you never thought you would ever have to do. You have to have experiences that don't even make sense, that you couldn't have even in your wildest dreams have fathomed being in this type of experience. Now you're outside of the box of yourself, and you're having to discover who you truly are, in a way that would never have been even an idea, or even a blink of an idea in your mind about this life that you've been living. So they're showing me this, that some of our collective, or all of our collective, I mean, they're showing me that we're going to be discovering who we are. And it could feel very unbelievable. It could feel like when we're setting up the chessboard, and this is the way that it makes sense, and this is how you play chess. Now things aren't, things aren't fitting into the blanks. Things aren't working the way they should. 1 + 1 is not equal 2. Like 1 + 1 is now equaling 3. Like and then 1 + 1 now equals 4 a week later. So things aren't adding up. So this is how the human race and our collective evolves outside the box, because we have to be in a way inconceivably challenged. Because we have to break down our attachment to control, our attachment to the chess pieces go like this, and this is what the chess pieces do. That is actually control, without realizing it, without even realizing it. That's what they're saying to me. Let me see what comes next about this. Okay, the next thing that comes about this is that some things, like I felt complete with the story, and I was ready for the next thing, because I have to draw a line in the sand, and I can't, like, I have to, because I have to keep moving forward. That's just the way that I am. And I've learned this through the years. Like, don't get attached to anything. Just keep moving forward. If it doesn't feel right, just sever it, move forward, just, but something here is saying, like you're gonna have to wallow in this. Like, something about um moving forward is not gonna, it's not gonna be what you think. Like, some of it you're gonna have to wallow in it. So I guess when I say that, it's like I see myself, this practical me, still in the library with the sunlight, and this me that's been like still in the river going backward forevermore, which I know is just an illusion anyway. So I'm just wallowing in this and saying, okay, I guess I'll just stay here. If this is, I don't understand. Is this like some kind of incubation process? So I just need to chill in between the light and this like illusion, and then just wait or something. Like I've never done that before. Like, tell me something I don't know. Hmm. This is tricky again, because as an energy healer, you look for the vibrational harmony. And when the light of the harmony goes out, you put light into it to resurrect it, okay? And then to neutralize everything that was afraid of that harmony. That's like healing 101, and the harmony is all about love. Like, it's not about thought. But I will say, when I don't know what to do, I just wait for the inspiration, and the inspiration will come from deep down inside of me. Like, it just pops out of my heart, like, oh, okay, then I gotta do this is the next thing I gotta do. It's not like, let me think. It's thinking never solves anything. I swear to God, you gotta just wait for it to just happen inside your heart, and then you just follow through with that. I'm going to stay true to what my rule of thumb is, because I feel I resonate with that rule of thumb no matter what is being said to me here. And so fine, if we want to define this as wallowing in this timeline and just soaking it up and then somehow learning some new things, you could define it as that. But I'm still gonna work by my own definitions, by my own rules of thumb, about harmony and what feels right in my heart, because truly it didn't feel right in my heart even to hang on to that energy anymore. It felt right in my heart to move on. So if the universe is saying I still need to work through this, then I'll still work through this. But I'm still going to follow my heart and just, I guess, continue to do that. Because what else, like, what else am I supposed to do? If you don't know what to do anymore in your life, you have to keep following your heart. I mean, if you're all out of ideas, you have to keep following your heart. Even if you have no direction, even if you can't tell what you're supposed to do, even if the light seems to have gone out, you still follow your heart. And maybe you need to wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, maybe you need to wait and spend that time just going inward, right? But you still know what to do because you're already doing it, whether you realize it or not. Hmm. So they're kind of saying, well, I guess that's a good way of saying that's how you work through not having control over everything, not deciding what's best, and not because it's out of your hands, because you're kind of in an experience where you don't know, the light seems to be turned off, you don't know, and none of the practical choices are really liberating. They're not really having any follow through. Hmm. I will say this message has been very transformative for my heart energy and the back of my head and my third eye, my crown, even, about how we're seeing things. Like, it's about the mind and the heart. It is about evolution. It is about I mean, there's still practical rules. This is why I always question these messages, which also helps me to know what my feelings are, and then even to be surprised and not have expected to see it in that way. But I do feel that there's an importance to kind of staying true to who you are, to a degree, right? Because you'll always be who you are, so you don't have to hold on to who you are, right? You don't have to stay true to who you are, because you're always going to be who you are, even when you're molding and shaping and into something more than yourself. You still carry the spirit of who you are everywhere with you. There are practical rules to life, like you plant the seed, it needs some water and some soil and some sunlight, in order to grow. Like, I don't see those practical rules changing unless we choose to change that with the help of science, with the help of something outside the box. Like, now we grow seeds, in a color spectrum room, and we have trees when fully grown trees in one week, or instantaneously we grow these trees now. Like, it could be some sort of different spectrum of truth, because we change the rules through developments in technology, for instance. But still, the rules kind of are the same. It starts with a seed. The seed has to grow. Still, the basic rule exists. They're taking me, forward in time, which is also kind of back in time. And I see myself having gone through this yet again. And I'm sitting with the me that can't open this orangish brownish book, who in one version, just went down this for all eternity, this black stream. And now I've come and circulated back to the same moment. And I'm merging with this me. But this time I say, you're opening the damn book. If I have to open it myself, you're opening this book. I can't open it. Yeah, I'm trying to open it. It's like the pages are glued together. It's like you can't open it no matter what. I release all the concept that the pages are glued together. That's not true. It's all insecurity and fear. And I'm opening the center. The book is stories about the things that I can't change, that made me feel destroyed. It's incopable. Like, I can't accept those types of lifetimes where I have all the know-how and all the skills, but I can't fix anything. I can't change the circumstances. And so I can't save people. I can't even save myself. I can't save the world. I can't save anybody. I mean, these aren't just Earth lives. These are all across the universe lives, experiencing what is, I'm a failure kind of concept. Like, nothing of my skills or my tools or my abilities could change anything. And I had to accept that. I had to accept that. Because what else are you going to do? However, because my soul is so destroyed, because I wasn't going to accept it right down to my last dying breath, I wasn't going to accept that. I remained in this purgatory state. And I've been going through lifetimes like this, where it's almost like, no wonder all these piano keys get crushed together, because my soul still could not accept that. And all the lifetimes that were opportunities and blessings for me to accept that there's going to be things that I can't control, I can't change, no matter how skilled, no matter how mastered I am at whatever could actually be the solution, it's not going to work. Because that solution was not the one that was to be born into that experience. That was not the lesson to be born into all the souls that were going through those lessons. We were meant to, in a way, the seeds of failure or loss or suffering were the seeds that were meant to be sown, not the seeds of solutions. And we're not the seeds that were meant to be sown in the souls of all these lifetimes. That my soul still didn't like that. I had to accept that. Because it's not just a superficial thing. It's like putting your heart into the breath and life of raising children, or feeling like you are a leader of many people. But it's the heart of who you are, the heart of how your choices, your actions, your identity impacts others, and the suffering that they'll endure or not endure based on your choices, and having to forgive yourself, or having to forgive circumstances that were never meant to. It was always meant to be the seeds of chaos. In a way, the seeds of destruction, the seeds of suffering were meant to be sown, not the solutions, because the souls had to learn about the other sides. They had to learn about the other side of the spectrum, the other side of the mirror. Not where everything works out, but where everything does not. It's like going through the closet to another closet, like this light realm with all the bookshelves, with all the potential and possibilities and the support and the practicality and the flow and the rules. And we follow these rules. And then the rule breaker, the seeds of suffering to be sown, to see that you can't be in control all the time. Like, you will fail, you will fall, you will break, you will watch others break before your very eyes, you will. So having to accept that part of the mirror. And there's just too many stories, like I'm experiencing lots of the stories in here. That's why I couldn't let the book go, because I was still attached to the outcome of those lifetimes. And it's just so many. And my soul had made a proclamation, in a way, to the universe that I'd rather die. I'd rather my soul not exist anymore, than to go through another one of these experiences. And in a way, it chose to go down this black river for all eternity, because that was the closest thing to death that that part of my soul could actually get, was to just for all eternity go in reverse forever, as far away from all light and life as my soul could ever get, and to never come back from that ever, by choice, until the soul would choose otherwise. And the soul may never choose otherwise. So that part of my soul may never come back, right? However, the experiences come back again and again and again. The book keeps filling up with more stories, because this will never stop until my soul stops that behavior, because all the souls will eventually come back to the light. I'm telling you, that's part of the ascension of all souls, that we all return to the source. And that, for whatever reason, to put that part of my soul in reverse back into the light is almost seemingly impossible, um is painful. I've even given up on that part of my soul, but that's not the way. That's not the calling. So what is the end of the story? We have to conceive of the end of the story as we're all our brothers and sisters. We're all our soulmates, all the parts of ourself that have been through suffering and can't forgive the experiences, can't forgive God, even can't forgive, etc. Will eventually forgive and come back to the light, and to come back to wholeness, true wholeness and harmony. Not one left behind. It's like the trolls, the trolls' daddy's like, no troll left behind, that was like their motto, no soul left behind. And I started to see this part of myself change. And there's a lot of tears, like a million tears to be shed, and almost like fire. And it's not just about the lifetimes, like these rich, good to do, these well-to-doers go to find gold, have a really difficult life. It's also about what is on the inside that has to come out. through emotional expressions and choices and randomness and whatever has to come out, because it's not about getting to the point, the destination. It's about the process of getting there, because in a way the destination could just be the lure that's helping you to heal these parts of your soul in the process. So when the road gets bumpy like the slide, and you're forced to go back down, know that you're reaching parts of your soul so that there's no soul left behind. And to be patient with yourself. Because as these soul parts come back to you, you can feel derailed. You can feel like the bumpy slide that is going all over the place. You can feel like the break in your plans. You can feel like loss. You can feel like all kinds of different ways. But what this is bringing these parts of your soul back and nurturing them from within. So life isn't about how perfectly you get things color coordinated in the closet. It's about how you worked through when it was a pile of books strewn about and no idea how to bring this into balance. Now, that is what we're here to do for ourselves, but for the support of each other. Because we didn't just come here to live this lone life for ourselves. We came here to work through it with others. And this is important. This is very important. Hmm. Okay, well, there you go. Oh my goodness. I feel totally like blown away by that.